This is called A Blast from the Past. This is based on a movie called Blast from the Past. Basically, same title. In the movie Blast from the Past, a family is hosting a dinner party when the Cuban Missile Crisis is going on. And the father, happens to be a scientist, decides to build a fallout shelter. Well, one night, during a party they're hosting, while the Cuban Missile Crisis is going on, because the party happens to be the one night. If I said it was going on for several days, sorry about that, I didn't mean it. A jet is in the area and is about to crash. John F. Kennedy announces on TV at the same time that there's a possible nuclear missile about to strike. The father gets really upset and freaked out, cancels the party immediately, and has his wife hide with him in his fallout shelter that he made underneath his house. They got there just on time, just as the jet crashed into the building, the home. And they stay there for 35 years because the father set the code so that it would not open up for about 35 years. Meanwhile, time continues to move on above ground without them even realizing it. Meanwhile, this father is thinking that the Cuban Missile Crisis is going on above ground, but really it was just a jinx. It was a hoax. There was no Cuban Missile Crisis or whatever. No one really knew what was going on. And in fact, it was safe about a day after this happened. The father could have only said for a day and gone up and saying that everything was safe and they would have been fine. The house would have been gone as far as I know, but they would have been safe. Well, his father is led to believe that it is completely dangerous to go up. The wife, who was pregnant, ends up giving birth to a kid, and they raise this kid for about 35 years before finally it's time to go out. The son goes out into the world, finds a future wife, and ends up building his parents a home out in California where they had been living, but just underground. The son ends up becoming the richest man in California, so to speak, but he didn't even realize it because the baseball cards he was given in 1950 were worth nothing at the time. They were worth maybe 10 cents or something. But 35 years later, they were worth thousands of dollars, and he became rich off of them. And he was given a whole collection, and his father didn't care how he used them. The son used this to his advantage right away. And that's basically what the story is about. Now, here's my version. This is completely fictional. You can definitely tell I'm using my imagination in this. If you've probably not heard of my stories of when I went back to the when I went to the future, went back to the past or whatever. I made an alternate version of Back to the Future called David Goes Back to the Future. I made my own DeLorean where I could fly through time and travel through time. And in this movie, I have that. So just listen. One day, I'm taking my best friend to through my mansion, showing around, and I come upon the DeLorean that I have, and I decided to demonstrate it to him because he had never seen it before. We climb in the DeLorean, and I set the time coordinates for like a few weeks in the past, just to give him an example of what the DeLorean could do. Unfortunately, the DeLorean was not working properly, and while I'm going back in time, the DeLorean completely messes up, and it even acts up in the process, and goes back to the time when the Cuban Missile Crisis is going on and the Cold War. As we come back out of time, we start plunging right into a fallout shelter with an open door. The DeLorean crashes against the wall with a great blow. The engine comes right out and completely crumpled up. Some other important parts of the DeLorean come out. I thankfully have my magic wand. No, this is not like Harry Potter's wand. I use it for other purposes. And as I'm sitting there in the DeLorean, completely stunned, I open up the door and I look around. There we are in an abandoned fallout shelter. It has food to last 6 people for 40 years. I could not believe what we had stumbled across. Suddenly, a loud siren goes off. Before I could even find out where we are, I saw the door was wide open. And I yelled at my best friend, Josh, we need to shut this door quickly, or else we're going to be burned to smithereens. It was a heavy door, but finally we sealed it. At the same time, we accidentally set the time period for the door to be sealed for 40 years. No, I yelled. It was too late, though. The door sealed itself. But we were safe as I heard the loud blast of fire burn against the door. While the fire was burning against the door, I decided to go and see what time period we were in. I went over to the DeLorean, turned on the time circuits, and noticed that we were definitely during the Cold War period. So, it is true. We have gone back in the past. The DeLorean has sent us to another time period. I used the magic wand to fix the DeLorean, but we could not drive anywhere. Not without polluting the area and killing ourselves, which we didn't really want to do. At this point, we might as well just stay right there and let our lives be miserable or whatever and hope that the door would open soon. What else could we do? I use my magic wand to bring some modern technology in. Even though we're stuck in the past, I thought we might as well have our gaming laptops, our $1,000 gaming laptops, desktop computers. All this with Skype, Xbox 360, PS3, Nintendo Wii, HD TVs, etc. And of course, the ultra comfortable beds, butler, maid, cook. Now I was beginning to feel more like home. Right away I began a project, something I'd always wanted to do. I began working on a virtual reality chamber, which allowed us to live our normal lives again, so to speak. I kept it a secret from Josh because I knew that we had absolutely no contact with anybody. We have Facebook still, and I used my magic wand to give us the ability to talk to people over Facebook. Unfortunately, that only lasted a week before we lost complete contact with our present friends because they blocked us on Facebook or unadded us, thinking that we had lost our minds or they had absolutely no idea who we were. Unfortunately, my brother had stayed behind and was working on a new invention to wipe the memories of our friends so that they could no longer remember my best friend Josh Copple and myself. No one could remember who Josh Copple and David Andrew Dunbar was again. Very depressing, to be honest. And so, as time went on, I continued to work on the program. Josh and I spent a lot of time together, playing games, and pulling all-nighters at the same time, talking to each other, reliving the past. Well, even though we were living in the past, our past that we left behind, which was really in the present, it was complicated. That's all we knew. 10 years later, I finally finished with the machine and about 50 to 100 different programs to use. I explained to Josh, you remember what our life was back in the present? He would say yes. And I said, well, imagine an alternate reality. Imagine being able to step in this machine and be able to feel like you're living at home. Except that you're not really home. This is all computer programming, using our thoughts and memories that I had to drain from ourselves while we were asleep. By plugging them into a little machine, then transferring them over this big machine, I was able to recreate different realities or different alternate realities of what we like to do for fun or stuff we miss, stuff like that, basically. Say, for instance, if we ever want to go to Disney for a day, I could program it so that, or I could choose to go to Disney for the day. You and I could go in, and it would be just like going to Disney. We would have everything there, and the best thing is we have unlimited money, or we could even choose not to pay because everything is done the way we want it. Everything is based on our memories, on our thoughts. I can go to college, and this if I want to eventually. I just have to program this machine to eventually let me do that. And I could do everything I want. Josh was completely flabbergasted. And it took you 10 years to work on this? Yes, it did. I've been really missing my best friends and first batches that could send me, so I recreated a program that allows me to be able to spend time with them again. And it's just really cool. It's like I'm not with the real people. I'm with an alternate reality of them. I'm going into a computer, and it's like I'm living in my mind. That's kind of creepy, said Josh. I know it is. But it's going to be different. And I think you'll like this. So, we decided to give it a try one day. He decided to start something simple, like going to the Eagle Ridge Mall. We always loved to go to that. I punched into the program and the system one day to send us to the Eagle Ridge Mall. We stepped into this dark room by first opening up a door, and we took a seat, and I shut the door. Within 5 seconds, everything vanished. Even though it already seemed like it did when we stepped in there and sat down on these ultra comfortable seats. I told Josh 5 seconds later to get up and open up the door again. Then Josh gave me a look in the dark, even though I couldn't see it. You really think that we're going to step out and there's the Eagle Ridge Mall? We're just going to come back in this stupid fallout shelter. I've already tested this a few times. It's going to work. Trust me. I'm going to keep working on this every day and maintaining it every day to make sure it works. Josh kind of shrugged. It's a good thing I couldn't see his poor attitude towards my new invention, or else I probably would have bee-slapped him. He opened the door. A bright light from the Eagle Ridge Mall shone right into the room. Now we could see each other. Josh's mouth opened. There was the Eagle Ridge Mall. And everything that we remembered about it. Starbucks straight ahead. The movie theater right next to it. Or right straight in front of us, off to the left. The bowling alley straight off to the right. Josh ran straight to the Starbucks. I ran right behind him. When we got over there was absolutely no one in line, but there were people walking around the mall. I don't believe this. It's like we're really here. I looked behind us. The machine vanished. Where'd it go? We're trapped. No, it's not gone. You just have to know where to look. Sometimes it goes off to the side a bit, but it never really goes anywhere. Sometimes I just have to call and it'll come back. It moved out of the way so it could make everything look more realistic. I programmed it that way. Yeah, now you can see the parking lot and see the people driving in. I programmed everything just the way we remembered it, using our thoughts and memories. To make everything more realistic. It took forever for our thoughts and memories to be drained into this machine. It took 10 years. But it was worth putting this all together. We went over to Starbucks, and Josh asked, so I can order anything I want without paying for it? Anything you want. No money is accepted. They won't even ring up a total unless you ask them to. Josh went over to the cashier. I even recognized one of the baristas. Everybody here in this mall, you'll recognize. I even programmed the system so that people that we know in our life will walk through this mall every now and then. Oh, so cool. Can I get a large caramel frappuccino? Absolutely. Just pick it up over on the other side. And I'll get the same thing as him. And can I get your names just in case we get yours mixed up? He's Josh and I'm David. Alright, sounds good. Wow, that is too cool. They don't make you pay for anything? If you want to pay for it, sure. But we don't make you pay for anything in this mall. Are you serious? Absolutely. Go over to GameStop and get anything you want there for free, too. Suddenly Josh's heart started melting. I'm in heaven. Dang straight you are in heaven. This is the way I programmed it. In this alternate reality of our life, who needs money? It's just a computer program for us to remember what our life is like. Money is not a requirement. It's not like in real life where money is so important that without it, how are we going to keep living through life? When we got back, we had our arms so full, I had to make several trips just to get from the machine just to get everything back into the fallout shelter. I had to keep using my magic wand to expand the shelter. I could keep bringing stuff into the shelter, but I couldn't get us out. We kept going in there every day. I would visit my cousins in there frequently and go visit my grandmother. Josh and I made several trips to Universal and Disney in there. I even took Josh to Legoland in there one day. I worked in there every weekend, and I went to college 5 days a week as usual. But I always made time for Josh. We still did a lot together. The best thing about the college was I didn't have to ever worry about the driving. It was a pay to drive sometimes. Sometimes Josh and I just felt like going to Dairy Queen, and I would take him to Dairy Queen every now and then. Or we had days where it just felt like having Subway. It was great, and days where we just wanted to eat at the fallout shelter, I just had the food brought there. It was great. Our lives were never going to get better, or could never get any worse. We had servants to do everything for us, and the butler was the best. He would talk to us every day. He always did our chores for us. When Josh went to visit his parents in alternate reality, his parents would always give him chores to do as usual, and he could finally play his computer again. It was not his real computer, but this computer remembered in his memory and thoughts. And so it made it almost identical. And his parents would do all his chores, but he would have his butler go into the machine with him or for him, and he would do the chores. And the butler knew exactly how to operate the machine. So it was great, and Josh and I would stay behind and play Magic or something. Unfortunately, time kept going by too quickly because we were having too much fun. Going in the machine every day, I kept it under maintenance, and the time just kept going on and on. The decades kept going on, and we ended up forgetting about the fact that time was moving on. I was so good about keeping up with everything, and then, sadly, before I knew it, it was 2014. The door released. And let us out. We decided it was time to go back into the real world. Go back to our normal time. Everything was still the same as we remembered it. But unfortunately, no one remembers us anymore. That brings us to part 2. Which is where you'll get to see how Josh and I try to get everybody to remember who we were. Or who we are. But hopefully you enjoy the first part so far. Or we used our imagination. And enjoyed our life in the fallout shelter. Hope you all look forward to the next part. Bye.